Good day and welcome back to another DB Legends video. In this video we're going to be taking a look at the sparking free-to-play Vegeta, Red Vegeta, from the Kakarot You Are Glorious event, and basically get a look at how good he is with his details and everything, as well as also discuss a little bit about his functionality, how does he work, what's happening, how to use him, equipment, etc. So we'll go through his details first. You'll see the equipment flash on screen shortly. In general, Vegeta is one of those free-to-play units that I think they've actually achieved a really good goal of, making him actually quite useful. So I think he's quite useful. I think he's good. I think he does pretty much what you expect Vegeta to do. And I think in that regard, what you'd expect a unit to do. And I think in that role, he achieves enough to be useful. Whether he'll be a PvP meta unit, definitely not, with how ridiculous the top meta units are. But the fact that you could potentially use him, even just a little bit, is always a good sign for a free-to-play, especially if you're a new player who's looking to pick up someone usable for PvP, or just in general, just a good unit. So let's talk about Vegeta and his abilities. We have main ability, Trust No Rival. Randomly destroy 2 of his own cards and draw a striking special arts card next. Restores his own health by 15% and ki by 30. Restores allied character Goku event exclusive or Vegeta clan health by 15% plus 20% to damage inflicted by allies for character Goku tag event exclusive and tag Vegeta clan. And when the battle starts, you'll have plus 100% to damage inflicted, cannot be cancelled, plus 20% to strike damage inflicted, and reduction of damage received by 70%. You also have minus 5 to strike arts cost, which is really good. And when he enters the battlefield, he restores his own ki by 20, give plus 70% to damage inflicted, reduce impact damage received for 5 timer counts by 10%, increase his own arts card draw speed by 1 level for 15 timer counts, reduce enemy ki by 15, inflict enemies with attribute downgrade minus 1 to arts card draw speed, inflict enemies with attribute downgrade plus 5 to all arts card costs, an additional 30% to damage inflicted for 15 timer counts if a character Goku tag event exclusive or tag Vegeta clan other than this character is a battle member, and when he lands a strike arts hit, he will restore his own ki by 20, apply the shortening substitution timer count buff, nullify enemy special action cover changes for 5 timer counts, and shorten ally substitution timer counts. When changing cover, he will draw a special arts card next, activates twice, nullify own unfavorable element factors for damage sustained for 10 timer counts, reduce enemy ki by 30, and every time he receives an art attack from the enemy, he will restore his own health by 3%, inflict enemies with an attribute downgrade minus 10% to strike and blast arts power, and minus 20% to special move, ultimate and awakened arts power. After the enemy's attack is over, he will restore 30% of damage received up to a max of 30% of his own health, and plus 30% of damage inflicted for 15 timer counts. He will shorten his own substitution count by 1 every time a battle member is hit with a arts attack, and when he switches to standby, he will draw 1 new card if you have 3 or fewer, and restore your own ki. So really good stuff. Basically how he works before we get into his main abilities is that functionally he is a bit of a damage soak. So he exists to soak up damage, to take the damage. He exists to really just take all of that impact and then restore health and give you essentially a good foundation to work off of for the rest of your unit. So if he does get defeated, or you can proc his main ability, giving you that big ability damage boost, he himself can obviously take some damage and just be used to protect your units if they look like they're going to get into trouble, and potentially soak up some big attacks from the opposition. With his abilities, his green and his blue are somewhat decent. His green is a good setup ability for other units, giving himself ki and health, but also obviously increasing damage inflicted by your allies for 20 timer counts, which is really good, and shortening their substitution timer count by 1 as well. His blue card will deal massive explode damage, which is great, and also increase the damage received by the enemies as well, and shorten ally substitution count. Overall, he's a great utility bunker kind of damage soak unit, And I think ultimately you'll find that he's really a ton of fun to use. And I think he has really, really good baseline functionality that makes him really useful. I have used him on a Vegeta's family clan team, and I find that he works really nicely there. Obviously, he can also cater to other event exclusive units, which is like good from a cohesion point of view when you try to use him, for things like full power battle and that. But then also you have the capability of using him with Goku's units, so you can also use him on teams that require a Goku. In terms of his Zenkai or Z ability, he is a Majin Buu Saga or Vegeta Clan usability unit, which is not bad. He increases strike attack and defense, which is fine. And obviously you can use him on either of those teams without following him as a lead. Of course, you never want to really use him as a lead. That makes not really a lot of sense. But I would say, generally speaking, if you're looking for someone to, kind of like hold down the fort, be a good option, be an interesting unit to, provide some defensive security and tankiness to your team, I think Vegeta is a good free-to-play option that isn't going to require a ton of investment. You can get him very easily, firstly, from the Glorious Kakarot event, which is great, and you can get him to 14 stars very easily, which is great, giving him nice stats. And then, of course, on top of that, in terms of equipment, you do have some really nice choices. You have, for example, the Majin Buu Saga equip that you can use, which increases baseline health. That Vegeta Majin Buu Saga equip. You have the Obtain Your Perfect Form equip, which is also great, giving him health restoration, defense, and health. And you also have, obviously, access to that gold Majin Buu Saga equip for event exclusive characters that I was using, which gives you health, big defense of 22%, and big attack as well. The big thing with Vegeta, obviously, being a unit that has so much ways to recover health and everything, there obviously is a big incentive to give him health equips and health restoration equips, because there's a lot of ways for him to heal, and if you can give him a lot of health and a lot of health restoration and a lot of defense, he can just be a really good unit to basically throw in and have soak up a ton of damage. And with that, he'll still be able to set up your team, to set up the units that actually are there to do damage, and so you'll be able to have a good, functional setting, which I think ultimately will work really, really well. Obviously, if you are, inclined to maybe push for Vegeta to be more of a damage dealer, I'm not too certain that's going to work, because I just don't think Vegeta's kit caters towards him being a successful damage dealer at all. He has a lot of utility that you can utilize, and that I think is great, but I think trying to use him as a damage dealer is probably not the way I personally would go, but to each their own, which is fine. Ultimately, at the end of the day, Vegeta can do some pretty tasty damage, and he can also, really kind of dish out some great damage as well with his special, but you shouldn't really cater towards his damage. It's more just a byproduct of setting himself up with some strike cards and getting off a good blue, rather than anything else. It's really his tankiness and his utility. I mean, you can see that even now. Him being able to debuff the opposition, restore his health, and just be really, really tanky is so good, and really allows you to, especially with so many dominant yellows and things like that in the meta, allows you to take advantage of this free-to-play unit, and I think that's something that is really, really good. So yeah, I'm very happy with Vegeta. I think he's great. I think he does a ton of great work, and I think, if you want to use him, he's not a bad free-to-play. Easy to get, I think very successful in what he does, and I think ultimately, as a player, you'll probably find that he's someone incredibly useful, which I think, at least for me at the end of the day, is really all I can kind of say. I think, Vegeta is one of those units that's really just very useful free to play. Like I said in the beginning, it's one of those free to plays that got right, and in doing so just makes them so really good.